You've been taught your whole life to be nice, be polite, don't upset anyone, make sure people like you, and for a while that worked. You smiled through frustration, bit your tongue when you wanted to scream, and told yourself you were being the bigger person. But somewhere deep inside, you started to feel it, that quiet little voice saying, "This isn't me." That's the truth, because the version of you that's always nice, always agreeable, always bending to what everyone else wants. That's not the real you, that's a performance. Let's be honest, being nice is often just a defense mechanism. It's a way to avoid discomfort. You stay quiet because you don't want to be judged. You say yes because you're scared of disappointing someone. You agree with things you don't believe in just to avoid confrontation. But here's the problem. Every time you do that, you're putting on a mask. You're editing yourself to fit into a mold that was never built for you. And do you know what happens when you live like that for too long? You forget who you are. You start confusing what you want with what everyone else expects of you. You get so used to being nice that you don't even realize you're saying yes out of guilt instead of desire. You're smiling when you're furious, nodding when you disagree, and laughing at things that don't even feel funny. That's not kindness, that's code. Switching your soul just to survive. Here's the truth. Authenticity will always be more powerful than niceness. Niceness is external, it's performative, it's about managing how others perceive you, but authenticity, that's internal, that's you standing firmly in your values, your truth, your boundaries. Authenticity doesn't need validation. It doesn't seek approval. It doesn't try to make everyone happy because it knows that's impossible. Now, I know what you might be thinking, but if I stop being nice, won't people think I'm selfish or rude? Maybe. But that's their perception, not your truth. You have to understand this. You are not responsible for other people's comfort with your boundaries. You're responsible for showing up as the most honest, grounded version of yourself. And sometimes that means saying no. Sometimes that means not returning a text. Sometimes that means walking away from a relationship or conversation or commitment that doesn't align with who you are. That's not mean, that's mature. Because here's the thing, when you prioritize being nice over being real, people don't get to know the real you. They get the filtered, polite, edited version. And if you're constantly being someone else just to keep the peace, then what kind of peace is that really? It's not real peace, it's quiet chaos. It's you sacrificing your voice to keep others comfortable. Let me ask you this. When's the last time you told someone what you really felt? Not the sugar-coated "I'm fine" version, the truth, that this hurt me, or I need more, or I'm not okay with this kind of truth. If it's been a while, that's not because you're too nice. It's because you're afraid of the fallout, afraid of losing connection, afraid of being seen in your fullness. But here's the beautiful twist. The moment you stop performing and start showing up as your raw, unfiltered self, you start attracting people who see you, not your mask. The relationships get deeper. The conversations get real. Your energy stops leaking into 100 directions. And best of all, you start to feel powerful again. Aligned, free, authenticity is a magnet. It draws the right people in and repels the ones who are only there for the performance. And yes, you will lose some people when you stop being nice all the time. But those aren't your people. Those are the ones who liked the version of you that didn't have boundaries, the ones who benefited from your silence. Let them go. You weren't put on this earth to be liked by everyone. You were put here to be you fully, boldly, and without apology. That means making decisions that honor your values. That means speaking up even when your voice shakes. That means choosing self-respect over approval every single time. Being kind is powerful, but being nice at the expense of your truth, that's a trap. So the next time you feel that urge to smile through frustration, to say yes when you want to say no, or to keep the peace by abandoning yourself, pause. Take a breath and remind yourself that real peace never comes from pretending. It comes from standing in your truth. You think being liked means you're doing life right, that the more people you keep happy, the more valuable you are. That if everyone around you is comfortable, you must be a good person. But let's be brutally honest here. That's not love. That's not power. That's fear. When you say yes to things you hate doing, that's fear. When you let people overstep your boundaries because you don't want to be difficult, that's fear. When you twist yourself into knots trying to be accepted, that's not confidence, that's a survival strategy. It's not kindness, it's performance. You're not connecting, you're conforming, and the worst part, it works. Temporarily, people smile, no one's mad, the group chat is still buzzing, on the outside, it looks like everything's fine. But inside, you're exhausted, you're resentful, you're disappearing, people. Pleasing is a mask and it's heavy. Every time you put it on, you drift a little further from who you really are. You start to forget what you want. You hesitate to say what you think, you laugh at jokes you don't find funny, you nod at opinions that don't sit right with you, you perform politeness not because it's your truth, but because you're afraid that if you stop acting nice, people will leave. Or worse, they'll talk. But here's the truth nobody tells you. When you constantly shift to please others, you end up surrounded by people who don't even know the real you. They know the curated version. The agreeable one, the easy one, the one who never complains, never disagrees, never needs anything. That's not a connection. That's a transaction. And it's not sustainable. Eventually, you burn out. You break down. You explode over something small because you've been bottling up what you really wanted to say for months. And then you look around and realize no one's there for the real you because you never let them see you. This is where boundaries come in, and I need you to hear this loud and clear. Boundaries are not selfish. Boundaries are self-respect. Saying no is not mean, it's clear, it's honest, it's healthy. You are not required to be available 24/7. You are not obligated to explain yourself every time you say no. You are not responsible for how other people react to your truth. You don't owe anyone unlimited access to your time, your energy, or your emotions. You are allowed to protect your peace. You are allowed to stop answering messages when you're tired. You are allowed to cancel plans if your body needs rest. You are allowed to walk away from conversations that drain you. When you set boundaries, people will get uncomfortable, especially the ones who benefited from your lack of them. They will call you cold, distant, difficult. Let them. That reaction says more about them than it does about you. You can't spend your whole life proving your worth through sacrifice. You can't keep bleeding emotionally just to make sure everyone else is okay. The truth is, if people only value you when you're easy, convenient, and constantly available, then they don't value you, they value what they get from you. Boundaries teach people how to treat you. When you respect your own limits, others start to do the same, but it has to start with you. You have to stop tolerating what makes you uncomfortable just to avoid friction. You have to stop saying it's fine when it's absolutely not. And you have to get comfortable with being misunderstood, because not everyone is going to get it. Not everyone is going to applaud your growth. When you stop people pleasing, when you start setting real boundaries, you will lose people, and that's okay. Let them go. The right people, the ones who love you, respect you, and see you will adjust. They will meet you where you are. They won't punish you for having a backbone. So here's the question you need to ask yourself right now. Are you living to be liked, or are you living to be free? Because you don't get both. If you want to be free, you have to stop begging for approval. You have to stop being afraid of being too much or not enough. You have to stand in your truth and let that be enough whether people like it or not. Drop the mask. Let them see the real you. Not everyone will like it. But the ones who matter, the ones who are meant for you, will love you more for it. Not because you're always agreeable, but because you're honest. Because you're grounded, because you're real, and in a world full of fake smiles and quiet resentment. Authenticity is the most powerful thing you've got. Use it. You are not an unlimited resource. You are not a bottomless well of energy, time, and emotional support. And yet, you treat yourself like you are. You give and give and give until you're drained, worn out, and resentful. You tell yourself it's just being nice, that it's what a good friend, a good partner, a good person does. But let me ask you something, who's pouring back into you, because here's what no one wants to say out loud. Being overly generous with your energy doesn't make you noble. It makes you empty. You don't earn love by exhausting yourself. You don't become valuable by being everything to everyone, you just become tired, and the people who truly matter in your life, they don't want you burned out, they want you whole, present, awake, alive. But you can't be any of those things when you keep giving away the parts of yourself that you desperately need to hold on to. You have to start treating your time and energy like it's sacred, because it is. Stop handing it out to people who don't appreciate it. Stop tolerating one-sided conversations and relationships that feel more like emotional labor than connection. If someone always expects you to carry the weight, to fix things, to show up at your own expense, they're not loving you. They're using you, and it's not just people, it's habits, it's obligations you never even questioned. You're stuck in a cycle of saying yes before you even ask yourself if you want to. You jump to reply, to help, to show up, to be the reliable one. But where's that same urgency when it comes to your own needs, your own boundaries, your own peace? You get one life, one shot at this. You don't owe anyone your exhaustion. You don't have to prove your worth by how much you tolerate. And if someone only values you when you're convenient, that's not love, that's control. There's a difference between kindness and self-sacrifice. One comes from strength, the other comes from fear, and I need you to start getting clear on which one is running the show. Kindness is powerful, it's rooted in truth, it has boundaries, it says, I care about you, but I'm not abandoning myself in the process. Real kindness doesn't come from guilt, it doesn't come from obligation. It's a choice made from fullness, not from fear of what will happen if you say no. But most people aren't practicing kindness. They're practicing avoidance, avoiding conflict, avoiding rejection, avoiding discomfort. You're not being nice. You're just scared. Scared they'll leave, scared they'll get upset. Scared they'll think you're selfish. Let them. Let people think what they want. Let them misinterpret your boundaries as coldness. Let them call you distant, because the people who can't respect your limits were never truly connected to you in the first place. They were connected to your compliance. And you know what happens when you stop trying to please everyone. You finally get to meet the version of yourself that isn't filtered through fear, the version of you that's clear, grounded, focused. You stop second, guessing your worth. You stop trying to earn space in rooms where you never belonged to begin with. That's the shift. That's where your power lies, not in being agreeable, but in being authentic. And listen, authenticity is not always comfortable. It's not always tidy. Sometimes it means disappointing people. Sometimes it means awkward conversations, ending relationships, standing alone. But the freedom that comes from living in your truth, nothing compares. When you stop living your life to be liked, you start living a life that actually feels like yours. You get to say what you mean. You get to honor your gut. You get to stop explaining yourself to people who aren't listening anyway. And you'll notice something powerful happen. Your relationships shift. The energy changes. Some people fall away. And that's okay. They were attached to your silence, your smile, your compliance. Not your truth, but the right people. They step closer. They meet you at your level. They stop taking from you and start respecting the space you've created. And that's when you know you were never too much. You were just around people who asked you to be less. So no, stop being nice to everyone. Stop giving your energy away like it's disposable. Stop sacrificing yourself under the label of kindness. Be real, be bold, be honest about what you need, and be unapologetic about protecting it. That's not rude. That's not selfish. That's you finally stepping into your life, and you don't owe anyone an apology for that. You were not put on this earth to be liked by everyone. That belief, that your worth is tied to how agreeable you are, is the very thing robbing you of your life. You've been conditioned to think that being nice means being silent, being agreeable, being easy to handle, but let's call it what it is. That's not kindness. It's self-erasure. It's shrinking so other people don't feel uncomfortable. It's carrying the emotional weight in the room while pretending everything's fine. Kindness doesn't mean putting yourself last. It doesn't mean saying yes when your soul is screaming no. It doesn't mean holding back your truth so that someone else can feel okay in their lies. That's not compassion. That's fear disguised as virtue. Real kindness starts with honesty, with presence. with the courage to hold your ground even when it would be easier to keep the peace. You've got to stop calling it being a good person, when what you're actually doing is betraying yourself over and over. That's not love, that's not strength, that's learned behavior, usually picked up from years of being rewarded for staying quiet, for not needing too much, for putting others first at all costs. And those costs, they're steep, because you only have so much to give, you only have so much time, so much energy, so much emotional capacity, and yet, you give it away like it's limitless. You stretch yourself thin for people who wouldn't cross the room for you. You pour into others even when your own cup is bone dry, and you justify it. You say, they need me, I don't want to let them down, but here's the truth. Every time you abandon your own needs to meet someone else's, you teach yourself that you don't matter. It's not selfish to take care of yourself. It's not rude to protect your energy. You are not a bad person for saying, I don't have the bandwidth for this. That's not cruelty, that's clarity, because here's what no one tells you. There's a massive difference between being nice and being real. And the longer you chase approval, the further you drift from who you actually are. You become a mirror, just reflecting back what people want to see. You become a character in someone else's story, not the author of your own. But authenticity, that's your power. It's messy, it's bold, it's magnetic. It draws in the people who are aligned with your truth, and pushes away the ones who only loved the watered-down version of you. The more you show up as your full self, the one with opinions, edges, boundaries, depth, the more you make space for real connection, the kind that doesn't rely on constant performance, the kind that doesn't fall apart the moment you say something uncomfortable. And yes, it's going to rattle people. Some of them won't like it. They'll call you different, cold, changed. Let them call you whatever they want. Because if the only version of you they could accept was the one who stayed quiet, then they were never really accepting you, just your compliance. There is nothing noble about staying silent. There's no trophy for tolerating what drains you. You do not have to be agreeable to be valuable. You do not have to soften your truth to be kind. You do not have to be nice to be a good person. In fact, being nice all the time, that's often how you lose your edge. Your vision, your voice. You start saying yes to everything, and suddenly your whole life is full of obligations you never asked for with people who don't even see you. You know what makes you good. Integrity, courage, honesty, kindness that starts with you, not kindness that only exists when you're empty. You're good when you say no with love, when you speak the truth even when it's hard. When you protect your peace, not just for yourself, but so you can actually show up fully for the things and people that do matter. You can't give the best of yourself if you're constantly giving it all away for free. Not everyone deserves access to you. Not everyone earns the right to your time, your heart, your attention, and it's not your job to keep everyone comfortable at your own expense. So here's your permission. You can stop being nice to everyone. You can stop apologizing for your needs. You can stop editing yourself down to what other people can handle. Be kind, but also be clear. Be compassionate, but also be honest. Be generous, but also be guarded with what you give. You are not mean for having boundaries. You are not selfish for protecting your time, and you are not wrong for choosing yourself. You are allowed to be whole. You are allowed to be loud. You are allowed to be real, even if it means being misunderstood. And maybe, just maybe, that's where your life actually begins. You're not here to win a popularity contest, and deep down you know that. But somewhere along the way, you started believing that being nice to everyone meant you were a better person. That if you kept the peace, made people comfortable, stayed agreeable, you'd be safe, accepted, loved, but that wasn't love, that was survival. Let's call it what it really is, fear, people. Pleasing isn't kindness. It's fear of rejection, fear of conflict, fear of being seen as too much or not enough. So you give in, you say yes when you want to say no, you nod when you disagree, you smile when something hurts. You bend, contort, overextend, just to make sure no one is upset with you. But every time you do that, you abandon yourself. And you know what happens when you do that for too long. You wake up one day and you don't recognize your own life. You're surrounded by people who don't even know the real you. You're stuck in commitments that drain you. You feel invisible, not because others can't see you, but because you've stopped showing up as you. You traded authenticity for approval, but the truth is, they're not the same. One will set you free, the other will break you. This is why boundaries are non-negotiable, and I need you to stop thinking they're rude. Boundaries are not walls to keep people out. They're fences to protect what matters. You don't owe everyone access to you. You don't have to answer every call. You don't have to explain every no. You are allowed to say, this doesn't work for me, and that's it. Period. If someone gets angry because you told the truth, that's not your problem. It's their reaction. Let them be uncomfortable. Let them process it. You are not responsible for their emotions. You're responsible for your energy, your time, your life. And speaking of time and energy, why are you giving so much of it to people who don't give it back? Why are you sacrificing your peace to manage other people's moods? You're running on empty because you keep trying to be everything for everyone. You drop what you're doing to help others, but when you need something, it's quiet. You're overcommitted, overwhelmed, overbooked, and underneath it all, you're just hoping someone notices how tired you are. But here's the hard truth, they won't, because you trained them not to. You taught them that you'll always say yes, that you'll always make room, that you don't need much. So they stopped asking how you feel. Not because they're cruel, but because you've hidden your needs for so long they don't even know you have them. You want your time back. Start acting like it matters. Start treating your attention like currency. Be intentional, be selective. Your peace is precious, protect it. And while you're at it, stop chasing being liked. Let it go. Let go of the pressure to be palatable. Let go of the need to be easy, sweet, agreeable. You weren't born to blend in. You were born to stand in your truth, even if it ruffles feathers. Even if it's too loud, too honest, too direct, because being real in you is so much better than being liked. Likes are temporary, they're shallow, they shift the moment you stop giving people what they want, but authenticity, that builds trust, it builds freedom, it draws in the right people and filters out the ones who are only there for the performance. You will lose people when you stop pleasing them, that's guaranteed, but what you'll gain is yourself, and that's the trade worth making every time. And listen, one more thing, you don't have to explain your worth to anyone. You don't need to justify your boundaries. You don't need a 10-step break on every time you choose yourself. Stop defending your no. Stop apologizing for your needs. Stop trying to convince people that you deserve the same grace, attention, and space you give so freely. You are enough as you are, not because of how nice you are, not because of how useful you are, but because you exist, because you're here, because you have a voice, a heartbeat, a purpose. So here's your reminder. You don't need to be nice to be kind. You don't need to be agreeable to be loving. You don't need to be everything to everyone. What you do need is to be real, honest, boundaried, clear, free. Start there. That's when life begins to feel like yours again.